Welcome to the Heartbeat Podcast, where we huddle around our mempool campfire. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Adam Soltys, who developed the CoinOS wallet. Hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better and learn more about your journey. Could you tell us how you learned about Bitcoin?
Yeah, I learned about Bitcoin. I think it was a blog post by a guy named Dan Kaminsky. He was a security researcher. He passed away a couple of years ago, but he was sort of like a white hat hacker.
Okay.
He was looking at Bitcoin to see if there were any problems with it. He was skeptical about its claims, and he was reviewing the software to see if there were any holes that could be exploited. And he wrote a blog post after that saying it was surprisingly well made, and it actually was really impressive to him that any of the things he anticipated that were going to be wrong with it, he went in and found that Satoshi had already come up with some sort of solution for that. So he wrote sort of a glowing review of Bitcoin, and I came across it somehow on the internet, and that got me to go and start reading about Bitcoin myself. I was already interested in open source software. I'm a developer, so I was working for the Canadian government at the time as a application developer.
Okay.
But I was really getting interested in, Linux and all these projects on GitHub where anyone can go and contribute and review code and modify it and fork it. And I was also getting interested in money and investing in finance, and just trying to learn how the financial system worked and the stock market and that kind of thing. So, Bitcoin was just at this intersection of various interests that I had at the time. So I went in as a skeptic, and also thought, there's got to be something here that's not going to work, or that they haven't thought of. So I wanted to go deeper on it myself to understand it. And the deeper I went, the more I found that other people had already asked the questions that I was asking, and had already presented solutions or explained in really good detail why Bitcoin was going to work. It just went from there. I eventually became convinced that it was the real deal, and there was really smart people working on it. So from there, I wanted to go and share that with other people and get other people on board.
Mm-hmm.
So that got me into, getting local businesses to take Bitcoin, hosting Bitcoin meetups so that other people could get educated on it and learn about it. And I've been doing that ever since.
Around when was this moment for you that you came around this paper from Dan Kaminsky?
It was in 2011 sometime, I think around July or August 2011. And then it took me a few months of reading the Bitcoin wiki and the Bitcoin talk forums and IRC channels, and just sort of coming at it as a skeptic before I became convinced. So in 2012, I moved back to Vancouver. I was living in Edmonton, Alberta for a few years. And when I came back to Vancouver, which is where I'm originally from, then I found one other person who'd already started a Bitcoin meetup. And it was just the two of us. I just reached out to him. I showed up to the meetup he had scheduled, and it was just me and him. So we met in a bar, and then he brought a copy of Bitcoin magazine that he got a hold of, and we just kept hosting the meetups together. Eventually more people started to come, and in 2013 there was sort of a bit of news about Bitcoin, and the price had gone up to $1,000 for the first time, and other people were starting to get interested in it. So it started to snowball, and we got a bunch of businesses on board here to take payments. And the world's first ATM was put in Vancouver in a coffee shop here, so that got some media attention, and we started, having events and things, and it's been a fun ride.
It's really surprising because, like in South America, the development, like in certain countries, the development and growth of Bitcoin is really stagnant and slow. So to know that Bitcoin Magazine existed, like in 2013, it was already out there, and that you guys were having meetups already back then is really, I mean, I just wish that for the other South American countries, for us to like get on the boat a little bit. Because it really like it shows how like the developed countries have a foot up on us, because you have intelligent people who have access to technology, who are really smart, who like can find how valuable this is. And it's kind of, well, because I'm Colombian, so right now I'm like looking at the fostering the communities in my local environment. So I'm just really surprised about everything you're telling me. It's really interesting. So what was the orange pill moment for you? So you learned about it, you researched it, but what was that one thing that you were like suddenly, okay, this is, I'm going to dedicate my life to this. This is my thing.
It's been a while, so I don't remember exactly if there was one, crucial message board post or something. I did read, Hal Finney's posts and Satoshi's writings, and then I think I was really convinced by the core team that was working on Bitcoin even after Satoshi had left the project. I think back then it was Gavin Anderson and people like Peter Willa and Gregory Maxwell and Peter Todd and Blue Matt Corallo, Luke Dash Jr., all these old school Bitcoin developers who I could just tell they were really intelligent. They were much better developers than I was or I am. And I'd really seriously analyzed all the threats and possible attacks and all this, mathematical, cryptographic, considerations of building this crypto system that has to be resilient to adversaries and has to be decentralized and be able to withstand nation state attacks. And I could just tell they'd gone really deep on it. And not just the people I mentioned, but hundreds of really smart, academics and cryptographers, mathematicians, computer scientists. All these people had been spending a lot of time thinking deeply about the problem of having digital cash right on the internet and doing it in a way that it can't be shut down, it can't be censored, and it can't be stolen easily. If you secure your private keys, then they're really secure, mathematically secure. So just kind of reading all the FAQs and other people's questions, like other people like me, plebs, who are just trying to understand it and had doubts about certain things, the 51% attack problem, or what happens if governments start to regulate it. All these questions that people have about, how is Bitcoin actually going to succeed if it takes off and becomes used widely. And there were answers. People had good answers for all these things. So I just over time became convinced of it.
Do you feel that Bitcoin is fully realized, or do you feel that, I mean, I know that there needs to be some scalability, but in terms, what I mean by fully realized is, do you feel that it is attack safe, or that it can become a global currency, or do you see any challenges or potential adversaries that could pose a reasonable obstacle for it to become globally adopted?
Yeah, I think it's still not out of the woods yet. There are powerful people in banking and government who are going to want to squash it and regulate it, over-regulate it, make it so that we can't have the privacy and freedom that Bitcoin promises us, because they want to stay in control. They get to print the money. They're reaping the rewards of the current system, so it's in their interest to keep that system going as long as they can and paint everyone who's using Bitcoin, non-custodially and privately, and using it to avoid paying taxes to the state. They're going to try to paint everyone as criminals and try to force everyone to use Bitcoin in a way that they approve of, where it's KYC'd and all your transactions are known and controlled. And that's not really the promise of Bitcoin. But I think, yeah, they're going to be making examples of people. Like we just saw the Samurai wallet developers were being arrested, and even going back to the Silk Road and Ross Ulbricht, they gave him a really harsh sentence to kind of, create fear amongst people that if you're going to use this thing and go outside of government controls, then there may be harsh consequences. That game of trying to control it and trying to put fear into people that are just want to lead their lives without the government getting too involved and have privacy with their financial transactions. There could be a time where that becomes illegal. I know in China it's already probably frowned upon to use Bitcoin for day-to-day transactions and things. And there's been countries like Bangladesh, and I think in Russia it was banned for a while. So who knows if the Western countries like Canada and the US and Australia are going to come out with more stricter capital controls and say you can only store your Bitcoin if it's on an approved bank like Coinbase or something that's regulated, and we know how much Bitcoin you have and we control where you're able to send it to and things like this. We can't rule out that they're going to try to do that more and more strictly over time. So I think it's up to everyone to try to resist that and speak out against it. I think morally it's wrong for the governments to try to impose those sorts of rules on people. And I don't think money laundering is really a crime. Like, there may be people who have money that's from the proceeds of crime, but we should punish criminals for doing crime, not people for aiding and abetting criminals by laundering their money for them. And maybe I'm not being clear right now, but
well, I mean, it's a difficult one to argue, but I hear where you're coming from. In your opinion, what is the best way for people to acquire know your client less Bitcoin?
Peer to peer with cash, if you can. Like, you can reach out to people in your area and see if there is a Bitcoiner. Maybe it's a Bitcoiner who's just passing through town temporarily. But just having a forum where you can go onto a chat group or a message board or a website and say, hey, I want to buy Bitcoin with cash. Is anyone selling it right now? And then, whether using some kind of an app like Orange Pill app or something to find Bitcoiners that may be willing to sell you Bitcoin and take your fiat, and do it without having a paper trail necessarily. But it's hard because even then, if you're buying from some stranger, they may still know who you are. They might be able to identify you later if the government came asking, like, hey, does anyone know where Danny got her Bitcoin from? And I was the one who sold it to you for cash. I could say, oh yeah, I know, I sold it to her back on this date, and we did it under the table, and then you're implicated, right? So you have to be careful, even when you're buying it from an individual and not from a KYC'd exchange that's keeping, official records. even individuals have a record, right? They know who you are, maybe. So it's hard to be fully anonymous and buy Bitcoin.
Yeah. On that note, one of the questions that I had for you is, how do you provide security for the clients of CoinOS? It's really CoinOS, right? Of CoinOS, when you guys are custodial.
Yeah, so I am the custodian for CoinOS, so I have to take measures for my servers that I run to make sure that they're safe, that they're not going to get hacked, they're not going to go offline. That's my responsibility as the custodian to do the best I can to make sure that I keep those funds available for people, and I keep funds in the hot wallets of any one of my clients or my users wants to withdraw their money, that it's immediately available for them. So it's a bit of a trade-off. It's a security risk for me to keep funds in a hot wallet on my server that are accessible for anyone to withdraw them at any time. That kind of puts them at a higher risk than funds that are in cold storage, where they're not on a computer that's connected to the internet. The keys for the funds aren't available, right? So I try to keep a balance where I only have a fraction of the total account balances available for withdrawals at any one time. So it's maybe 10 or 15% of the total Bitcoin that should be available for people is actually in my hot wallet, where it's online on the server and ready. And then if people, like if there was a run on the bank, like everyone wanted to withdraw at once, then it would not work for everyone, right? I would have to move funds
It would
from
take a minute
cold
to
storage
get
onto the server. And that happens every few days. Like I see that there's been a bunch of on-chain withdrawals, and people have been depositing over Lightning. So then I need to go and rebalance the wallets. I need to take money out of cold storage or from an exchange and replenish the on-chain hot wallet. So it does happen sometimes that a CoinOS user will go to withdraw and it doesn't work because my wallet is running low and I haven't topped it up in time. So it's I'm always managing.
And have you fended off attacks, or maybe you don't know about them because you fend them off correctly, so you don't even know that you've been tried to be attacked?
Yes, no, I can see that I've been attacked. There's server logs of people coming in on different IP addresses from Tor and spamming the server with a bunch of malicious looking code and HTTP requests that are designed to find flaws and find problems with CoinOS that they can exploit to either give themselves money that they shouldn't have, that they didn't actually deposit, so that they can withdraw all the funds from my hot wallet. And I have actually been exploited. There's been a few times where they've succeeded and they've gotten money out of me that they shouldn't be able to get. And that sucks. It's always a bad day when I wake up and I see that my hot wallet is empty, and I go and check the server logs and realize that it wasn't a legit withdrawal. It was someone who found a bug that was able to fit money from me that they shouldn't have got. So that's happened. It hasn't happened for a few months now, touch wood. Like whenever it happens, I have to spend time to go and look, try to do that. What caused them to be able to get money they shouldn't get, and then hopefully I've patched all of those issues now, but I never know. There could be one that's still out there that I haven't found yet, and they haven't, like the attackers haven't found yet, or sitting on for now. So
well, I ask because that that experience grows resilience. The more like you're exposed to these situations, and the more you address them, the more resilient your actual system becomes.
yeah, it's the idea of what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
That's right. But it sounds like you have a structure that gives you the flexibility to be able to continue to operate like that you have a good mindset of how you structured it so that these situations don't completely like abolish your business, but you are resilient to these attacks and you can like grow and learn from them and keep on pushing forward. So I think that sounds great. So you are talking to me about some of the most important fundamentals about Bitcoin with know your client and custody and all that stuff. So, but CoinOS is a custodial wallet. So I would like you to talk to me more about what role do you feel custodial wallets play in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and why go for something custodial when you understand the fundamentals so clearly?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin, like CoinOS didn't start as a custodial wallet. It started as a non-custodial wallet,
Okay.
where it was an on-chain wallet, and you would put in just your public address, your on-chain Bitcoin address, and CoinOS would just tell you when you got a payment, just like a block explorer. You know, if you go and look at an address, you can see what transactions are there. But CoinOS had this feature where we would also tell you the fiat value of the Bitcoin at the time it was received. So for merchants who are running a coffee shop or something, they could know, like, when your customer paid you this $5 for a muffin or something, you got this amount of Bitcoin, but this is what it was worth in dollars when they paid it. And just having that accounting aspect was something a lot of wallets were missing at the time. And I guess the reason it evolved into a custodial wallet is because of the scaling issue that you kind of brought up at the beginning, where we were doing zero cost on-chain payments in the early days, like in 2013 and 2014, where you want to go and buy a coffee. You don't want to wait for 10 minutes to an hour to get a block confirmation. So the merchants were just trusting, like, okay, we see this transaction in the mempool. It's been sent from their wallet, but there's this risk that it could be double spent still.
Yep.
But it was a risk, it's for a few dollars, so that it's a risk they're willing to accept. But then the fee market got really high in 2017 for the first time. Like, blocks were full and the network was busy and people were paying like $20 or $50 to get a transaction to process. And then during that time, it just became clear, like, retail coffee transactions are not going to, they're not going to scale. And if this fee market, like, if more and more people get into Bitcoin, as we're anticipating they will, then we need another solution. So then Lightning Network came along in 2018, 2018, I think. And I started incorporating that, but then it didn't lend itself to being very user-friendly, where you could just have your own Lightning node and do it self-custodially. You have to open channels, you have to do channel management and have liquidity. And it's more complicated than just, signing a transaction like you do with a on-chain transaction. So the wallets became, it's still to this day is pretty hard to do self-custodial Lightning where you're not having to trust anyone. And so there are solutions coming out like Arc and sidechains and eCash and other solutions that are trying to address that user experience problem and the inbound liquidity problem that Lightning has. None of them are quite fully developed yet, or they're not mature enough to be that practical for people quite yet. So in the meantime, I want to see more people using Bitcoin. I want to see businesses adopting it. So going the custodial route just pragmatically seemed like a good solution for now, just so that people can have Bitcoin. It's actually sitting with me, but they get a balance in their wallet. It tells them this is how much Bitcoin you have, and you can actually go and send it to other people. And it's it's infinitely scalable because it's custodial, right? Because if you send a payment between two CoinOS users, it's just a database transaction for me. It's not an on-chain thing. It's not a Lightning payment. So CoinOS users can interact like unlimited transactions. They're totally free. There's no friction. It's instantaneous. And then you still have the option to settle out to self-custody, to take your funds, to your own Lightning wallet, or to sweep them out to like a cold storage wallet periodically. So I kind of see it as like a batching service almost. Like you can do a bunch of payments within CoinOS, and then once you have a balance that you're uncomfortable having in a custodial wallet, like you get up to $1,000 or something, then you can move it out to cold storage and go through the hoops of, writing down your seed phrase or figuring out how to set up your own Lightning node and move it to your own Lightning wallet. But to be able to onboard people really quickly, where it's just you put in a username and password and boom, you have an account within seconds. It works on the web anywhere in the world. You don't have to download anything or set up channels or do anything. You're just, you're ready to go right away. That user experience is what we need for your everyday business owner or just your everyday person to be able to use Bitcoin seamlessly without having to learn too much about technical details of how it works and how to secure it and that sort of thing.
This episode is brought to you by Libby's Wardrobe. Want to show up to the Bitcoin meetup in style? Pick some swag from the amazing selection at Bitcoin Diaries. Cute t-shirts, embroidered hats, bullish shoes, you name it. Find them all at loveisbitcoin.com/wardrobe. Do you see any second layer, like different second layer solutions in the horizon? Or which of the existing second layers do you think aligns the best with the Bitcoin ethos?
I like Lightning. I like Liquid. I like the eCash stuff that's developing. Fedimints and Kashi and Arc, I mentioned, sounds really promising. Yeah, it's all good. Like it's all different attempts, even like drive chains and different sidechain stuff. Like Ruben Thompson has written about space chains and state chains, and there's all these brilliant technical ideas that I honestly am not advanced enough to understand them all to be able to have a strong opinion on which ones are technically better. So I'm just glad that there are smarter people than me working on these things and developing them. I try to kind of keep up with it a little bit as best as I can. And I have people that I trust in the space that I know are, really, really care about Bitcoin and want to see it succeed and are really trying to come up with solutions that are going to scale and be secure. So I just defer to other people to sort of guide us on that stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be a mix of different solutions, different layers. I don't think there is like a one-size-fits-all perfect solution that's easy to roll out. I think it's a hard problem, and time is going to tell, right? We're just going to have to go through that process of evolution and the marketplace of ideas where we try different things, we see which ones work, and when it actually gets down to implementing them and trying them in the real world, you discover things of problems that weren't thought about, and it gives people time to try to come up with attacks and exploits and break things. And it's a messy process, but it takes time, and we just have to let the developers do their thing, like keep on building and trying these things. And over time, I'm confident that we will get to a place where we can scale Bitcoin to the world securely and self-custodially. But there are going to be, these middle ground, trade-offs or stepping stones along the way where we we have these imperfect solutions, but they're good enough to keep the ball rolling for now. Kind of how I see it.
Mm-hmm. You were involved in Bitcoin quite early, and I'm curious as a developer, because I also went to computer science school. So as a developer, sometimes one of my biggest enigmas is what do you think is the best path for developers to take to learn to program with Bitcoin, to learn to make like accessory apps, or even to program on Bitcoin Core? Like, what is the best vehicle to learn everything you can about the Bitcoin code and its environment?
Yeah, I would start with the Bitcoin Core GitHub, or just downloading Bitcoin Core and playing with the CLI, like figure out which commands you can run, like create raw transaction. How does that work? Read the man page for it, or the docs, the help pages for that command, and try to make a Bitcoin transaction, from scratch without using a wallet to do it for you. And then dig into that, like what is the anatomy of a transaction and a block, take the hex of a block and go through the pieces. What's in there? What does it mean? What is a digital signature, and what is an input and an output of a transaction, and starting to get into the details a little bit. And, I've been here for over 10 years, and we still haven't gone that deep on the technical stuff. Like, I still struggle with a lot of it. So, and I also have a background in computer science. So for your average person who isn't even trained on that to, get into that, it is challenging. But there are books like Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. I think I haven't read it myself, but it would be a good one. And there's courses like Lisa Nagu, I think. She runs a course. It's like base 58 or something like that, where they, you sign up and you go through like a several month program with developers, like core developers who have really gone deep and developed Bitcoin and Lightning, and they're willing to teach you, the nitty-gritty details. So
yeah, because it's interesting. There's like somewhat a limitation on resources or educational resources to get to the depths of Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of educational resources that tell you about like the surface and kind of like simplify the concepts and give you wallets and give you all this stuff that doesn't really exist. But when you get to the nitty-gritty stuff, it gets really difficult to get your hands on some resources. So I think Base 58 is a good recommendation. I don't know if you know of any other resources that are educational out there. I mean specifically for developers, because I do think like you that it's too challenging for a regular person to really get into the details of what Bitcoin is without like a guidance.
yeah, there's the Bitcoin OpTech newsletter is a good one.
Yes.
There's also there's the Bitcoin mailing list. So that's like, people sending emails and discussing technical developments on Bitcoin. And I think there's an archive going back years and years that you can go through. There's a forum called Delving Bitcoin that's a bit newer, that it seems like a lot of the developers have kind of moved over to that for
what is that one
discussion. Delvingbitcoin.org.
I haven't heard of that one yet. Delving Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's also the BitDevs. There's a whole network of local meetups all around the world. So if you go to bitdevs.ca/cities, I don't know if this is the best. Well, this is good. Yeah, it's a good launching point. So for our Vancouver meetup, the organizer Leo has put together a list of other BitDevs in other cities.
Okay.
So if you want to actually meet in person If you happen to be in one of these places, you actually be able to go and find other developers like in your local area. We do them once a month in Vancouver, and we try to get guests in, like guest speakers from other places. So sometimes they join remotely, and those are good because you meet other people who want to learn about Bitcoin, and usually there's always someone smarter than you there. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm not asking specifically for me because I live far away in the hills, but I do think that there are other people in like a similar position to me who sometimes might not know where to reach out for resources to like get started. But I think many of the things that you mentioned could be good starting point for developers who are interested to like be more a part of the Bitcoin ecosystem and try to start getting their foot in the door and learning how it works. Okay, so we talked about security. Oh, okay. What do you think, because we kind of touched on this, but what is the easiest way for people to get their hands on Lightning money? Like, I know it's Bitcoin, but like if you don't have if you're not custodying your, well, I guess there's a difference between custody and having your wallet connected to your node. But like if you're not running a node and you don't have your wallet connected to your own node and you're not going to be like running your own Lightning node, what is the easiest way for people to get their hands on some Lightning?
The custodial way is the easiest if you consider that to be Lightning. So even that's a matter of debate, right? Like some people say you're not getting Lightning, you're not getting Bitcoin when you do that. You're just getting a number in someone else's database. But it is a way where you can try paying a Lightning invoice and receiving, give someone a Lightning invoice and receive a payment from someone. So yeah, it is a starting point. That's the easiest way is, CoinOS or Wallet of Satoshi.
Because for example, Coinbase, who offers Lightning now, does not offer it for American citizens.
And
So it's not available in the U.S. territory. So like, if you can't really buy Lightning on exchanges, then because even if it's a custodial wallet, they might not do custodial wallets swap Bitcoin for Lightning often or not really? Because the ones I've come about,
we do, yeah, and I think Wallet of Satoshi does too. I think you
yeah.
can deposit on chain and then swap into Lightning there. You definitely can with CoinOS. That's something we offer. We charge 0.1% to do a swap. So if you deposit on-chain Bitcoin, you can go and pay a Lightning invoice with it. And we charge 0.1% to do the conversion on the fly. So it's not something you have to think about doing. It happens automatically. So you deposit on chain and then you go to your send page and you paste in a Lightning invoice or you scan a Lightning QR code and it'll just work. Like it'll just pay it. And we do that conversion for you. So we're maintaining balances on our Lightning node or on-chain node and a Liquid node. So you could also swap into Liquid if you want to.
That's great, because when I was playing around, to know that and to put it out there, because when I was playing around with it, I didn't find it immediately. So I'm really glad that you shared that with us, because probably other people have the same Does it concern you that you provide a custodial service that you benefit financially from, like what we were talking about at the beginning with regulations and the government trying to step in, and what happened with Samurai Wallet? How are you thinking of affronting the potential challenges that are going to come in the future with that?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit concerned about it. I hope that I don't get in any trouble for it. I'm always a little bit anxious that one day I'm just going to get like a letter in the mail from the US, from the FBI or something, saying I'm a criminal and they're going to be prosecuting me for something. But I just have to have faith that I'm not doing anything wrong. I think morally, I'm doing what I think is the right thing. I'm giving people easy access to sound money, and I'm trying to be responsible about it. So
because CoinOS is not know your client, right? You only have, I mean, you get some information from your clients, but it's minimal, and people can input whatever anonymous email they want. So in theory, like, CoinOS does respect people's anonymity. So you don't really know, you have clients' funds and you know who they belong to, but you don't really know who the individuals are.
That's right.
Okay.
And there could come a day where I'm told I can't do that anymore, at least in Canada. So then I'll either have to make the decision to continue going against the law, or I'm going to have to shut it down or move to another jurisdiction, and I start a company up in another country where it's allowed. There may come a time where no countries are going to allow that, or that, the US or other countries are going to prosecute people that aren't even their citizens somehow, right? Like, they're just going to say, oh, you're serving US citizens, even as a Canadian, we're going to come after you. I don't know. There's something I think would be terribly wrong, and that would be a huge injustice, but I wouldn't put it past them either. So we'll see what happens. Nothing's happened to me so far. I'm still just going along. I've been at it for years now, and I haven't had any trouble. But I guess my other plan B, besides shutting it down or moving it, is it is all open source. So it's not a total waste if CoinOS gets shut down and I can't run it personally. At least all the work I've done on it to get it working well, and do the design and build the interface and have this infrastructure that I can spin up on a server pretty easily now. Other people could take that and run it themselves and be a custodian for their community, or in their country, where maybe I won't be able to operate it myself, but other people can. So hopefully I'm not the only custodian who's doing non-KYC custodial services, like be your own bank kind of thing. I'm trying to build the technology so other people can take it and do it themselves as well. And then if there's enough of us, hopefully we can resist the powers that be that try to shut that kind of thing down. But it may end up being like we may have to resist and have civil disobedience if the regulators and the bankers get more and more harsh about their penalties and about making examples of people like me. So I just hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well, we smile and we laugh a little bit, but it's actually quite serious stuff, because the hope of freedom hinges in the success. Do you really think that there is going to be enough collusion amongst governments to kind of, like you said, for it to be illegal in most jurisdictions? And would it even matter? Like, does it matter if, like, let's say if somebody said, okay, it's illegal to hold Bitcoin in cold wallet, like, does it really matter? You can't really do anything about it. How are you going to stop me from transacting? Like, can they really, like, interfere and know that you're making a Bitcoin transaction from your home internet?
No, that's the optimistic thing, is even if custodial services like mine get shut down, Bitcoin itself is resilient to being shut down or regulated. So they can't stop Bitcoin. All they can do is slow down the scaling of Bitcoin and making it difficult, for these coffee transactions, or making it expensive for a while, until the technology develops where we can scale it without needing those. But that's the hopeful thing, is even if they slow it down for a while and try their best to attack it, there's no stopping it, because on-chain Bitcoin, like you're saying, there's no way that they can stop people from using it if they want to use it. We could create mesh nets or connect directly to each other without going through our ISPs, and do Bitcoin transactions over ham radio, or whatever needs to be done to have like a black market of Bitcoin. And the incentives and the game theory are there, they kind of guarantee that the more that the nations try to stop it, it's just going to shift around to places where it can thrive. Jeff Booth covers this really well. Like, the game theory of trying to stop Bitcoin is, it just makes more sense to embrace it. People are going to figure that out, and it's going to happen.
How concerned are you about collusion amongst miners? Do you think that this is a real threat towards Bitcoin? Do you think it's actually in progress or not so much?
I don't worry about it too much. I think the game theory is sort of in our favor, that it's in the miner's best incentive, like selfish personal interest, not to mess with things, not to try to censor transactions. Because as soon as they do, and people catch on to that, then it's just a matter of time before someone, creates a fork that those miners, can't mine on the new algorithm or something, or people just, through consensus, they say, okay, we're just not going to allow those miners to create blocks anymore, we're going to censor them. And the consensus of the people who are running their own nodes and running exchanges and using Bitcoin to transact, the power is always with the people, because we can always change the rules to suit the majority of the economic majority of people who want to use it as money. So yeah, I'm not too worried about miners colluding.
So you're saying that the concern of miners colluding is counterbalanced by the node runners colluding. So like if the miners collude and censor people, then the node runners will censor the miners.
Yeah.
That's a great position. I like that position. It makes me less nervous.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time left. Why don't you tell us what you're working on right now? Is CoinOS fully realized? What is like your next steps? What are you doing right now?
So just in the last few days, I've been working on these printers.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. I love it that you brought it up. Is
Yeah.
that the receipt printer?
It's a receipt printer, yeah. So
Yes.
it's a little thing I got from AliExpress. It's like a tiny little printer.
Uh-huh.
And I built this box and stuffed a bunch of other bits and pieces in here. So there's a little, it's called an ESP32.
Mm-hmm.
So you see in there. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I was watching a video of the little printer and I wanted to ask you about it. So what does that chip do?
So that chip, if you heard of Raspberry Pi, it's like a single board computer or a microprocessor. It's a very small computer. It's like the size of my thumbnail almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it has little pin holes on it that you can put wires into. So you can flash it with some C++ program using the Arduino development environment.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, in this case, what I programmed this one to do is it connects to the CoinOS API for your CoinOS account.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you get a payment, whether it's a Lightning payment or an on-chain deposit, it will trigger the printer to a receipt that says the dollar amount or whatever your fiat currency setting is.
Mm-hmm.
So the merchants can get a paper notification whenever they get a payment. And I like this because it means that staff or merchants that aren't really knowledgeable about Bitcoin, they don't know how to work a wallet or know anything about Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
They accept Bitcoin payments from their customers, and then they don't have to understand anything. They just get a piece of paper that says, you've got $6 and this is the time and date. And they can put that in their cash register just like they would if they had taken like a $20 bill or something. They just treat it like cash. So it really makes the onboarding process for getting business owners to take Bitcoin payments just really smooth. because the customer can initiate the payment from their own phone. They can send it to the merchant's Lightning address or just their CoinOS username, and the merchant, like whoever is taking the payment, they don't have to like create a QR code or create an invoice or use the app to do anything. They just tell the customer what they owe, and then the customer sends it, and then the paper comes out and says that it's complete. So it's like a good user experience for both the staff and the customer.
I'm curious about your merchants' behavior. Do they tend to like immediately transfer all their funds to fiat, or do some people just leave it in Bitcoin?
I'd say like more than 90% of them are leaving it in Bitcoin. There's just a couple that cash it out. But yeah, most of them are folding it. And it's good because most of them came on board just in the last 2 years, so they've seen their holdings like pretty much double or triple in value. And when that happens, it's good because then they're kind of sold on Bitcoin. A lot of them, they're just trying it because we convinced them to give it a try, and we're telling them like, hey, can you take Bitcoin and we'll bring some Bitcoiners around, and yeah, we're trying to orange pill them. So number go up is a powerful
Motivator.
yeah, motivator.
Yeah. But yeah, like they say, you come for the number go up and you stay for the culture, the technology, the growth.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. No, I like the receipt because it also, like a lot of clients, you buy your coffee, you want your receipt, and Bitcoin is so intangible that the receipt printer is kind of it's simple but also very enticing. It allows you to do things kind of like the wallet. It normalizes the whole process for the user, in this case the merchant user. But yeah, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I guess my last question is, if people want to support you or support the work that you're doing, how do they find you? How can people like support CoinOS or your projects?
So I'm coinos.io/Adam. That's like my username on CoinOS. And from there, you could send me a Lightning payment or an on-chain payment or a liquid payment. But other ways to support are just to get the word out that we exist. I think we are the easiest onboarding wallet for both individuals and businesses alike. So whether you want to set up a friend and send them a few sats, just so they have something to watch their number go up, then CoinOS will be the fastest way to get sats into someone's hands if they don't have it. And then with merchants, we have good features so they can prompt their customers for tips. They can get daily, monthly transaction reports for their accounting. We have a few different features, the printer and our API. All these things make it easy to take payments as a business owner. So if you know any local businesses in your area, then people at the farmers market or just mom and pop stores or restaurants, then show them CoinOS. It just takes a few seconds to get them an account, and then you can start getting them on the map of Bitcoin merchants around the world. And we just want to see more and more people using Bitcoin daily. So getting people out of fiat onto the Bitcoin standard, developing the Bitcoin circular economies all around the world. That's our goal. So
if you're a Bitcoiner,
help with that.
Yeah, so if you're a Bitcoiner and you're listening to this, the job is to go to like your favorite coffee shop and tell the coffee shop owner that CoinOS exists and try to onboard them so that they'll start accepting Bitcoin for your coffee.
Exactly. And if you're really technical and you want to try, running your own CoinOS instance on your own server, running your own Lightning node, and being your own custodian so that it's you doing it instead of me. So if I do get shut down or something, and there's other people in other countries that can carry the torch, then send me an email, adam@coinos.io, and I can help you get set up with that.
That sounds wonderful. Well, hopefully a lot of merchants do onboard and it becomes easier for people and normalized for people to use their Bitcoin and to be able to buy the daily stuff with it. I hope the project continues and that the powers that be let us work for a while, for the foreseeable future.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's right. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for sharing with us kind of your process with CoinOS and where you guys are going. I hope this inspires other people to kind of jump on board and develop on Bitcoin or buy and sell on Bitcoin. Because, I mean, custodial wallets have a place in the ecosystem. And I think you made a good argument for that. So hopefully it does help with the scalability and the process of being able to use it in our day-to-day lives.
Thanks.
It's been great having you. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dang.
All right, viewers, don't forget to subscribe and follow us so that you can watch more and interviews and other technical episodes to learn how to use Bitcoin and be able to purchase it, hold it, and secure your keys.